This is demonstration number 16, part 2, from the aviation textbook, Advanced Airmanship, Book 1, Precision Flying. Using the flight deck view, it flies a complete flight illustrating the pitch transition rules shown in demonstrations 9 through 14. We will now enter a climb, setting both pitch attitude and power at the same time. The airspeed is gradually decreasing toward its target value of 200 knots. Now, maintaining 200 knots, we will level off using a precise transition at 15,000 feet. Plotting speed has now been slowed down. Rotating to the zero rate pitch attitude, we capture 15,000 feet. And maintaining climb EPR, we now accelerate toward our target speed of 250 knots, maintaining 15,000. Approaching 250 knots, we'll set the EPR to maintain that speed. Next, we will accelerate to 340 knots. The first step is to set the EPR value to 1.30. And since this is a changing airspeed constant flight path maneuver, we must coordinate pitch changes with airspeed changes. Notice a decrease in pitch attitude as airspeed increases. As we approach 340 knots, we will have to reset the EPR to the value that will maintain it. Next, we will slow down to 300 knots. First, we set the EPR to 1.05 to initiate the speed change. And in order to maintain 15,000 feet, we will increase the pitch attitude as the airspeed decreases. And approaching 300 knots, we will increase the EPR setting. The airspeed now remains constant at 300 knots. Next, we will enter a 300 knot, 1,000 foot per minute descent. Since this is a constant airspeed maneuver, we must coordinate pitch changes with power changes. Notice the pitch and power change occurred together. The airspeed remains at 300 knots and the flight path is stable at 1,000 feet per minute. The next transition will be similar. We will level off at 13,000 feet, maintaining 300 knots. And since this is a constant airspeed transition, we will coordinate pitch changes with power changes using an appropriate altitude lead. Notice that the altitude is immediately captured and the airspeed remains at 300 knots. We will next begin a descent to 240 knots and a vertical speed of 1,000 feet per minute. Since both flight path and airspeed are changing together, we will set both pitch attitude and power simultaneously. We now set the new pitch attitude of 0.5 and the power setting to the idle thrust value. Notice that the airspeed is decreasing and the vertical speed is also heading toward its target value. Both 240 knots and 1,000 feet a minute will be reached at approximately the same time. We will next level off at 7,000 feet and simultaneously slow down to 210 knots. Using an appropriate lead, we will rotate to the zero rate pitch attitude to capture the altitude. Now that the altitude has been captured, we must coordinate a pitch increase with decreasing airspeed in order to maintain the altitude constant. And as the airspeed approaches 210 knots, we will reset the EPR to the value that will maintain the speed constant at 210.